Alexander and Olivia had been married for 5 years, yet starting a family was never something they rushed into. They figured life had a way of sorting itself out when the time was right. There was one thing about Olivia that Alexander found endlessly amusing, a giveaway trait she could never quite hide. Whenever she tried to fib, even just a little, her cheeks would flush a fiery red, like warning beacons, announcing her dishonesty loud and clear. He noticed this early in their relationship once, when she was late and tried to conjure up a believable excuse. Her face gave her away before she even opened her mouth. This particular quirk turned out to be a handy little advantage. With such a visible tell, Alexander never had to guess whether she was being straight with him or spinning a tale. As the first hints of spring crept in, Olivia began tossing out not-so-subtle hints, even downright pleading for a vacation. She craved sunshine, sand between her toes, and the salty breeze of the coast. Trouble was, Alexander wasn't a fan of beach holidays, and his workload made taking time off a bit of a stretch. But Olivia's yearning for the sea only grew stronger, and waiting another couple of months for Alexander's schedule to clear? Not happening. She already begun combing through hotel listings and eyeing boat tours like a woman on a mission. "Why don't Helen and I take this one?" she suggested with a playful glint in her eye. "Next trip's all yours." Name the place. Alexander knew Helen well enough. She was one of Olivia's married friends, and she had a 6-year-old son she could drop off at grandma's if needed. Helen didn't care much for big family outings anyway, so the idea made sense. Alexander agreed, booked their flights, covered the hotel, and even threw in some extra cash for day trips and fun expenses. Olivia packed every summer outfit she owned into her suitcase, and on the day of departure, Alexander drove the two women to the airport. For the first week of her getaway, she bombarded him with snapshots of sunsets, coastal views, and blissful notes about how much she wished he were there to enjoy it all. But by the second week, her messages slowed down, probably because he was drowning in work himself. Their chats mostly drifted into small talk, weather reports, and daily plans. When Olivia finally returned, Alexander greeted her warmly at the door. As they stepped into the apartment, she took a breath and noted how different the air smelled, then wandered into the kitchen to join him for dinner. Over the meal, she shared stories from her trip, throwing in a half-hearted complaint about how Helen could be a bit of a bore at times. Afterward, she headed to the bedroom to unpack while Alexander lounged on the bed, idly watching TV. "You bring me anything good?" he called out teasingly. Olivia froze, her hand mid-motion over the suitcase. Her expression shifted, caught between surprise and something else. Alexander got up to see what was going on, and together they spotted a bottle of wine wrapped snugly in a brightly colored t-shirt. "Tada, a little something for you," she said cheerily, handing him the bottle. He raised an eyebrow, tugging at the shirt wrapped around it. "Weird way to pack a bottle, don't you think?" She laughed, brushing it off. "Oh, the shopkeeper wrapped it like that, said it'd keep it from shattering in transit. I was a little thrown, but I just rolled with it." Then she leaned back over the suitcase, turning her face away. Alexander let it go, changed the subject, and didn't push for more. But later that night, left alone with his thoughts, that moment replayed in his mind like a scene from a suspense film. Why had she looked so surprised? Did she actually forget the bottle was in there? Or was the wine never meant for him at all? Something about it didn't sit right, so he started digging. Curiosity led him to the social media page of the resort where Olivia and Helen had stayed, the kind of page where hotels post cheerful snapshots of parties and activities to lure in future guests. As he scrolled through the photos, one image stopped him cold. A local entertainer was front and center, performing for an enthusiastic crowd. Right there in the front row were Olivia and Helen, laughing, clearly having a great time. But Alexander's eyes locked on the entertainer's outfit. He was wearing the exact same t-shirt that had cradled the bottle of wine. At first, Alexander dismissed it. It was probably a common souvenir tee, sold by the dozens at beachside shops. Still, the thought nagged at him. His wife's strange reaction, that too casual explanation, the coincidental t-shirt, they all started forming a picture he couldn't ignore. Turns out, during her seaside escape, Olivia had grown restless without him around. That's when she met a young, smooth-talking animator who kept her company a little too well. For days, the photos stopped coming, and Alexander unknowingly spent that same week getting tangled up in his own distractions, playing the part of the happy husband while something quietly unraveled in the background. He'd meant the wine as a sweet surprise, a token of a fleeting, maybe foolish connection. But as fate would have it, that bottle made its way back home, hidden in a neon tea, buried in the folds of a suitcase, and eventually, into the hands of a husband who now saw everything a little differently. Later that week, after a particularly grueling day at work, Alexander dragged himself home, his head full of deadlines. When he walked through the door, Olivia was perched in the kitchen, staring at her phone like the world outside didn't exist. "Hey, I was thinking we could maybe order," she started, glancing up at him. But the moment her eyes met his, she knew something was off. Without delay, I confronted her with the question that had been gnawing at me. "Just tell me one thing," I said firmly. "Did you cheat on me during your vacation?" Her reaction was instant, a blend of shock and indignation. "What? What kind of ridiculous accusation is that?" she snapped, eyes wide with disbelief. "Just answer, yes or no." "No, yes. I mean, I would never," she stammered, but her face betrayed her. Those flushed cheeks, that nervous twitch, I'd seen it before. The telltale sign of a lie she could never quite hide. In that moment, the truth hit me harder than I expected. I wasn't sure what was more painful, her betrayal, or the realization that she thought she could get away with it. Did she believe I'd be too distracted, too trusting, too far removed to notice? But her lover had outed her, unintentionally or not, and now the mask had fallen. I didn't hesitate. I told her to pack her things and leave. She cried, of course she did, but I couldn't let myself fall apart, not then. She must have sensed how fragile my composure was, because she didn't argue. She quietly gathered her belongings and walked out of the house. And just like that, she was gone. There was no path back. I knew I could never forgive her, not really. Trust, once broken, doesn't heal with words. So, I filed for divorce. I felt devastated not just by her infidelity, but by the emptiness it left behind. The woman I had loved had chosen someone else, even if just for a while. But I reminded myself, it was her decision, and every decision comes with consequences. With limited finances, I found myself renting a small apartment on the edge of the city. The silence there was oppressive at first, but also oddly comforting. Friends shared whispers of her regret, how she missed me, how she was suffering. Some even joked that she probably missed the freedom to travel more than anything else. In time, I made peace with what had happened. I started to see the separation as a strange sort of blessing. Maybe it was better this way, clean, complete. We had no children to be caught in the crossfire. I remembered the rumors of her past, like that ill-fated vacation fling with a friend's husband. Things could have turned out worse. Now, I no longer mourn the end. I understand that some stories aren't meant to last. Some people are only chapters in your life, not the whole book.